like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Peanut butter. I like peanut butter. You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/CheapGeek. So it begins again. Welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast. It's episode number 107.
Mandela Effect and Methed Up Mishaps.
Very nice. So we are back again doing the audio podcast version of the CreepGeeks Podcast, episode number 107. So if you're tuning in for the very first time, this podcast is about what?
Well, we're broadcasting paranormal news and fun stories from our CreepGeeks Bunker Studio in the mountains of western North Carolina. We're an offbeat news podcast that takes a light-hearted approach to the strange, the stupid, paranormal, and tech topics circulating the web.
Very nice.
Yes.
So, very nice. Thank you very much for tuning in. We do this podcast in two parts. We have the first part, which is the audio podcast, where you're listening to us right now, and thank you very much for doing that. Mm-hmm. And the second part is actually where we do a live stream version of the podcast you're listening to right here, except with audience interaction. You can participate. You can actually listen to us speak and then comment using your fingers.
Yes, we're usually on YouTube, on the CreepGeeks YouTube channel.
Yeah, so you can find us there. And if you're listening to us now on iTunes or iHeartRadio or SoundCloud or
Google
Podbean, Google Bean, wherever, we do really appreciate it. And the podcast is growing. Every month we do this, we get more and more downloads. Every time we do this, we get more and more downloads, and we very much appreciate it.
But to help us grow,
yeah,
if you check us out via the audio podcast, be sure to leave a rating on whatever podcast player you use for the podcast. It actually makes us more visible to more potential listeners.
Absolutely. We accept only the finest 3 to 5 star quality reviews, but otherwise we do appreciate it. So if you're listening to the audio podcast and you want to jump in and join in with the live streaming podcast that we do, there's a link to that. And you can follow us on YouTube, or you can follow us at our CreepGeeks Facebook page. If you look at CreepGeeks Facebook page by searching for CreepGeeks on Facebook, you'll find our page, right?
Yes.
Or you can find a CreepGeeks podcast. Either way, we have links for when we do the show live, and normally it's Sunday. Mm-hmm. But if you're listening to us now, today is not Sunday. It's whatever day you downloaded and played this podcast. But for us, it's New Year's Eve. So that's what we're doing. And this podcast today is a little bit different because we're doing something about the Mandela Effect.
Yes.
And we're going to talk primarily about that, along with some other stuff that we find to be interesting. And we have a special guest here with us, my brother, Big Bad Will, and he's going to be piping in every once in a while. And funny story, we started to do the podcast, and he was sitting here being a spectator, but he needs to participate. So there you go. Say hello, Will.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Very nice. I wonder if everybody can hear you. I think so.
I hope so.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. We'll give it a shot.
Yep.
So there you go. If you want to call and leave us a message, you can certainly do that. We have a phone number for you to call and leave messages.
That phone number is going to be 575-208-4025, and that is a Roswell area code.
Very nice. And you can also follow us on CreepGeeks.com, where we do basically we post the podcast there as well, along with some other funny stuff or things we think to be funny. But, we're here for you. So wherever you'd like to find us and participate, that'd be super cool. You can do that. You have options. Options and solutions is what we do here.
Yep.
Not really, but anyway. So let's talk about the Mandela Effect real quick. But before we do that, let's do our interesting random factoid, which is something we do every podcast.
Yeah.
Just a random interesting factoid to kind of get things going. It sort of wets the whistle.
Okay.
Gets the juices flowing.
Yuck.
Yeah. And this factoid is about something I think most of us enjoy. Mm-hmm. The potato chip.
Ew.
So, you ready?
Yeah.
Did you know that the first potato chip flavor was cheese and onion?
See, I kind of think that's an interesting flavor. I would eat that.
Well, it's better than just salt and potato. Although that does have its place, but
which is what potato chips used to be. It was just you'd get them made, and then they just sprinkle salt on them, and there you go.
Yeah, oil and salt. So there you go. So before there was Cool Ranch, barbecue, sour cream, and onion, or anything like that, there was cheese and onion, and it was invented in 1954 by a guy named Joe Spud Murphy.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a novelty at the time. So pretty much all you got was salt. That's it, right? Maybe a little pepper if you were good. So his seasoning chips would pave the way for all that we love about junk food from that day forward. So what's your favorite flavor?
Me?
Yep.
Jalapeno and sour cream.
Jalapeno. And yours, Mr. Will?
Cool Ranch.
Cool Ranch. Very nice. All right. So,
I think cheese and onions are a rather weird flavor. I had to go look it up, and it looks like it's still popular in Ireland to this day.
Yeah.
And the company that started it was, behind Joe Murphy was a company called Tato. Tato in Ireland.
There you go.
So
make it closer, bro. Get that mic right into your face.
Aww.
Say hello.
Hello.
Very good. Getting a little closer. You can bend that stick if you need. You're a big tough guy.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. Very nice. So. Sweet.
Yep.
Had to check some controls. That's what we do here. It's an organic podcast. All right, so say something now.
Hey.
There you go. That's a little bit better.
Yeah.
We had you on the mute. We had you on punishment mute.
That's all right.
All right. So anyway, the Mandela effect, right?
Yeah.
So what is the Mandela effect really is, or what it's all about, or what do we know it to be?
Well, what do you know it to be?
Well, according to Wikipedia, here's how I put Mandela effect, is that basically it's kind of like a false memory, right?
Yeah.
But that's the way Wikipedia also says. They say it's a false memory, right? And a false memory really is a psychological phenomenon where a person recalls something that did not happen or happened differently than the way that they remember.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know the difference between false memories and like Mandela. Now, in my particular case, when I remember things to be a certain way and then they catch me off guard and I go, wait a minute, that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? I don't think that's a false memory
Yeah.
for me. A false memory would be, you remember your parents, giving you hugs and kisses before you went to sleep, but they were really dirtbags and they were beating you before you went to sleep. That's a false memory. But, I mean, you understand what I'm saying there, right? Yeah. That's what they typically use false memories for, is to say, oh, well, you replaced the false memory of a teddy bear, when really it was, you were locked in a closet.
Like UFO abductions, where they have a false memory of how one way an event happened, or they're even missing that memory.
Yeah.
And it's covered up with something.
A giant 3-foot-tall jackrabbit sitting there with green eyes.
And it turns out to be an alien.
Yeah, sitting there with...
That's a false memory.
Yeah.
But every major mainstream website I looked at describes the Mandela effect as false memory. Or they even use special jargon like fuzzy trace theory or something like that.
Yeah, what's that?
Fuzzy trace theory is the way in which our memories are formed in one part of our brain and another part, where like familiar stuff, the example I give is like if you have a memory and there's a truck passing by in that memory and the truck is blue, that gets stored at one side of your brain and then the rest of the memory is actually stored in another part of your brain. So that's that's the very basic explanation of fuzzy trace theory. And they're saying the Mandela effect and false memory, something gets broken up when those memories are put in different spots in the brain. So, yeah. I don't really believe that. I don't know. So.
Well, I don't believe it either. I'm actually sending a text right now.
Oh, okay.
Just to kind of let everybody know what's going on. We actually sent a box of gifts and swag to New Mexico, where we used to be. Now we're broadcasting out of a bunker in western North Carolina. But before, we were broadcasting out of the dirt in New Mexico.
Yeah.
And they didn't get it. And we're like, well, that's cool. Or, we didn't know if they got it or not because we're actually too lazy to check the tracking information. So we just assumed that they hated us. But evidently that's not the case. I just got a text from New Mexico saying they got it, they loved it, and they appreciated all the CreepGeek swag.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of CreepGeek swag, we actually have T-shirts and stuff, and we still have the coupon code for 25% off if you use the code
Xmas Rush, because I forgot to turn it off.
Yeah, to get a shirt. You can certainly do that to where the shirt is about as cheap as you can get.
Yeah.
I don't know if that includes free shipping. So, but anyway, that was my bad. Multitasking is not my strong suit today.
But the other part of the Mandela effect is something called schema-driven errors. And that's a part of what I was saying earlier with the different packets of memory being stored in different places. Kind of like a computer, a packet was lost. So that's how they're trying to describe.
Okay, so what they're basically saying is that, you send 100% of a signal, but it loses information along the way, and then you receive the 96%.
Yeah. So now all of that did start with, or got its name with the conflicting reports about Nelson Mandela dying in 1980.
Okay, now I remember him dying around 1982, 1983.
Okay, and that's what everybody's saying. There's some sort of confliction with the historical record and what actually happens. A lot of people have these very vivid personal memories of a TV reporter or some sort of show where Nelson Mandela had died in prison in 1980. But then everybody's all surprised because, this happened around 1994. He's alive and well. He was released from prison. Which is funny because there's different reports where he died in the 1980s, 1993, late 1990s, so all these conflicting reports as far as him dying or not, but everybody has these deeply rooted personal memories of him passing away. So.
Well, it's not just that one. There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
And if you go back and look at it, all right, there was a paranormal investigator named Fiona Broom. Mm-hmm. And she's the one that basically says the Mandela effect occurs whenever a vivid personal memory is found with conflict with historical record. Didn't you say that?
Yeah.
Okay. But it's more than just that, because the funny thing is that you would look at like a big event like Nelson Mandela dying. That's huge, right?
Yeah.
But then when you look at other things that can be attributed to the Mandela effect, where like we'll use the peanut butter one, right? Since we like peanut butter and it's theme song kind of thing, right? Jif peanut butter.
Yeah.
Versus Jiffy peanut butter. When I grew up, I swear it was Jiffy. And my brother, I just asked him when he came in here today. I'm like, hey, do you remember Jif? And he was like, you mean Jiffy? And see, there's a lot of people. I mean, you ate it, and you even said the colors were different. No, I thought about it. Yeah, the colors were different.
What were the colors?
They were like blue, red, and white, I think.
Yeah, I remember the blue and the red for sure.
Yeah.
And see,
but they were like flipped.
Other people remembered blue, red, yellow. And if I look it up right now, it's red, blue, green. Oh. And I'm like, no, that's not right either.
See, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But there's more than just, that. There's a bunch of different things out there that people are starting to catch. Like another one that I just thought of was if you look at some of the, like when I flew in commercial aircraft, right? Like we all have taken plane rides places. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the engines being underneath the wing or in front of the wing?
Well, they kind of poked out, but they were under.
Yeah, they were kind of tucked under, right?
Yeah.
Now they're saying if you look at some of these older pictures or the newer pictures of older aircraft, they stuck out from the wing.
You mean like just mounted to the front of the wing?
Like the wing, and then where the big round turbine part is, everybody looks at the round part, would be sitting forward, like way far forward. And I'm like, it looks so weird that when I looked at it, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Why? It didn't look right at all. Yeah. Like if you stepped off the front of the wing, you could pretty much stand on the engine. Whereas before, I remembered if you stepped off the wing, you'd be basically standing, you'd fall inside the engine because it was like almost flush.
Which happens.
Yeah.
Because there are
and people
are
like,
oh,
no, that's just not. But there's older pictures and where you can see it, and even some of the old commercial airline commercials.
Yeah.
For like U.S. Air and some other airlines that don't exist anymore. You can see it as they go flying by. The engines are underneath the wing. But now, when you look back at the same model of aircraft, the engines are actually brought forward. It's weird, man.
Okay.
But, I mean, there's just a ton of these different things out there. How can that be a false memory? And more importantly, if it's a false memory, how come everybody shares it? Or not everybody, but more than one or two people share it.
But the other thing about the false memory, or how could it be a false memory, why are humans having such a negative reaction to that memory being wrong?
Well, I mean I'm not necessarily negative, but like more of an intense reaction. Like, wait, that's not right.
Like I'm watching you as you describe this memory, and you are, it shows that you are physically unnerved by that memory.
Well, I'm not unnerved. I'm like, what is going on here? You cannot shake my reality.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it does. Is it actually changes your reality, right?
But that's the common reaction when people encounter these Mandela effects, is just the unnerving reaction. Like, wait, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have my own little ones that I've noticed, and it's funny because I'm reaching out to people about them. Hello Kitty It's funny, when I was growing up, I had a Hello Kitty toy, and on the back of it was printed Sanrio 1972. And that's not right, apparently. Hello Kitty was introduced to the world in 1974, but she didn't even hit America until 1976. But I swear to everything, the toy I had when I was growing up said 1972 on the back of it. And it had some very deep meaning to it because I got it after being very sick, and I was looking at it, and the date was actually the first thing I read, not the words Sanrio or Hello Kitty.
Yeah.
But everybody I've encountered, Sanrio store employees, Hello Kitty stores, the Netflix special, The Toys That Made Us, they're all saying I'm wrong. And it just makes me mad so much.
Yeah, and there's just a ton of these different things. And it's like, well, okay, so the Mandela effect is they're saying it's a false memory. I don't necessarily think that applies.
Yeah.
Right. And so Wikipedia says one thing. And the thing about it is that even the people that talk about Mandela effect disagree with what Mandela is.
Yeah.
Like, for example, there's some disagreement in the pronunciation of Mandela effect. Some people say Mandela effect, and some people say Mandela effect.
Well, that could just be me pronouncing it wrong, okay?
That's a possibility, right? But it's some of the sources we looked at MandelaEffect.com, which is funny because that site's been up and down since we started looking at it. And then Gaia.com has an article, and one of the articles they talk about off the Gaia website is that Mandela effect is like a parallel dimension is changing and changing people and events in our universe.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different theories, and you can also go to Reddit.com, right? Our Mandela effect, and you can see a bunch of different things. There's thousands and thousands of people that are interested in this.
Yeah.
So again, with false memories, that's impossible. I mean, false memory is your memory. Maybe your family member's memory, right?
Yeah.
Somebody you're directly related to or influenced by, that kind of thing. But this is like people all over the world are having Mandela effects.
Well, and, it's not
so
just...
So false memory, I don't believe that for a bit. I think something's really going on.
It's not just Reddit. There's other places, too. I mean, the Mandela effect hit popularity on 4chan, which is that place where everybody goes to just throw stuff out there.
And that's where a lot of whistleblowers go because you can be anonymous on 4chan.
And I think there was this one guy who, him and his whole family got very upset because they all remember having an uncle, and that uncle never existed.
Ooh, see, that's super crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's like, remember Uncle Frank? We never had an Uncle Frank. See, that's the kind of shit you have nightmares about when you're a little kid, right? And you're having a dream, and you go up to your dad, and you're like, "Hey, Dad," and the guy's like, "Who are you?"
Well, they went to
I don't know you.
They went to go look for family photos, and they couldn't find him in family reunions, Christmas times, nothing like that.
See, that's pretty scary.
And that's where it started to expound into other conspiracies. But from there, it went over to Reddit, where now in Reddit they have everything organized. Like, what's the Mandela effect you discovered this month, or
and
this year?
I like those because see, if people are paying attention and they're actually bringing them up and documenting them somehow,
and
if there is a concerned effort or discerted effort by something or somebody or whatever, I don't know. This rabbit hole stuff is too deep to go into in the 40 minutes that we're going to give this. To have people documenting this is great because see, the trick is I don't think that you would if you were paying attention you'd see it, but if you're not paying attention, you're going along your ordinary everyday life, you'll miss it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the goal.
Well,
but these little corrections, maybe they're corrections in our timeline, maybe they're corrections in our reality, but like I did watch one where this person kept documenting the sign for Chase Bank.
Yeah.
And it kept changing color. It was like blue or red, and then it went to like a black and white, and then it went to a gray, and then it went to a lighter gray, and then a lighter gray,
Purple.
And then it became white.
Yep, I saw that as well.
Yeah, I'm like, what? And then even the colors had changed, and the same thing with Chevron.
But here's the problem with that.
Whoa.
When the Mandela effect started hitting popularity in 2014, 2015-ish or so, people were like, okay, everybody, grab your photos, start documenting this.
Yeah.
But now Google image searches are changing as well.
Yeah.
So it's almost like if I wanted, let's just say I wanted to keep track of something. I said earlier to you, what if the AOL dial tone, something all of us,
noise. Yeah,
something all three of us have heard. What if that suddenly changed one day? I would have to have some sort of analog piece of equipment to document that change and hold on to it forever, just in case that ever happens.
Yeah. I don't know. And that's the kind of the weird part. It's like,
Or
if it's digital, you know, and you save it in another digital format. I mean, if digital can be manipulated,
yeah.
then how do you even document this kind of thing? I mean, you found like old magazines and old physical things that aren't connected to the internet. It seems like you have a better chance of survival when it comes to being able to hold on to something.
Also thinking about, what about all those hoarders and all those old people that pass away, and you go into their apartments and they've got like 30 years of newspapers. What if we've been picking on those people and they're struggling with the Mandela effect?
I don't know.
That's terrible.
I don't know. Well, we're going to let you think about that because we're going to take a second and we're going to take a quick break.
Yeah.
You're listening to the CreepGeeks Podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's amazing the subtle games that you are playing, and you don't even know I exist. You have got me on your hit list, and you're conspiring. Girl, you are sexual and bad, and now you got this on your conscience. Because now I'm unresponsive. Run through the fire, I'd walk the wire. I would sell everything I own. I'd swim the ocean, dance with the devil. I'd sell my soul to take you home. We can feel the floor underneath our feet. Fire shots through my chest as you watch me bleed. Every kick, drum, hit is a symphony. Every brush of your curves is the
Audible is an audio entertainment that entertains, educates, and inspires. For you, listeners of the CreepGeeks Podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/cheapgeek. Again, that's audibletrial.com/cheapgeek for your free audiobook.
Run through the fire, I walk the wire. I would sell everything I own. I'd swim the ocean, dance with the devil. I'd sell my soul to take you home. One heart to survive when one just breaks. One slow suicide while one just takes and takes. One choice for the good of you, but not the one you make. But one worth dying for if you saw her shake, shake, shake. We can feel the flow underneath our feet. I am listening. We can feel the flow.
And we're back.
Ah, very nice. All right, so we're talking about the Mandela effect. And if it's your first time tuning into the podcast or you jump somewhere in the middle, welcome.
Hi.
But we're back. So, yeah. So there's a lot of things going on with the Mandela effect. And as far as causes and reasonings behind why it is what it is, I don't think anybody knows. We've been looking at this stuff. I mean, I've heard about the Mandela effect and sort of glanced into it off and on for the past couple of years. But I started really kind of like digging into it to try to find out, maybe to get some more definitive information. And
Like,
it's a freaking rabbit hole, man.
Yeah.
You can spend years digging around with this stuff, trying to dig up, what's the actual cause, man. And I don't know.
I think it's funny that literally a couple of days ago, you started falling down this rabbit hole. And then Will told us, I guess the other night, you started watching videos and got lost on YouTube.
Yeah. I usually get lost anyway, but especially on those crazy topics.
It's easy to do because, everything from the CERN theory to...
So two brothers fell down the Mandela effect wormhole.
That's right.
Yeah.
The Mandela hole.
One of the ones that I like, and this one's kind of weird, is that in 2012, our universe was destroyed.
We're both speechless.
I know. That was dramatic effect. So, since our universe was destroyed, it's been sort of replaced, because if there's parallel universes, alternate universes, like say Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 3, kind of like the
Like Marvel universe?
No, that's more like DC.
616.
Yeah. It depends on what Earth you're on, right? Like, Flash and the Flash effect and all this crazy stuff, and all these universes fall within other universes, but there's multiple versions of the same, right? Like Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 616, all that kind of stuff, right? So our universe got destroyed. Our reality got destroyed, and another one has taken its place. And for whatever reason that it got destroyed, people know this, or something knows this, and it's basically made that alternate universe, alternate reality that we're in now, ours, and they're patterning it after the old one because it was so close to where we are.
But
So the small changes have to happen to make everybody accept it.
But not everybody's accepting it. On top of that, I'm thinking...
Well, one of the theories is that, when they implement these changes, that it was done poorly.
Yeah.
And some of the things that we're seeing are changes that were caused by the poor implementation of whatever reality shift or change is supposed to happen. Yeah. And the leftovers that you see, like when you find an old periodical that has, an advertisement for Jiffy peanut butter, when it should be Jif, because that's what we know in our new reality is Jif. When you see that kind of stuff, those are called residues.
Or residuals?
Yeah, but they call it residue. So when you find Mandela, right, or Mandela effect residue, you're supposed to hold on to it.
I just remembered why I thought it was Mandela.
Why?
Because mandala is the Tibetan Buddhist little design of intricate universe stuff.
Ooh, so you sure that's not Mancala?
What?
The game, there's like a game my kids used to play it.
No.
It was like marbles and these little. It was weird. I don't know. But
no.
So kind of crazy.
So maybe that's where I messed up.
Maybe.
So yeah.
So the CERN theory, right, is that these incidents have started occurring since CERN was established, and it suggests that basically its particle physics experiment are causing the world to shift into parallel universes. Okay.
Okay.
And some people are calling the original reality, which is why we're divergent through through divergent thought, I should say, according to believers, worse, right? And so what they're saying is, the theory is that since CERN came into being and started doing particle physics experiments, like trying to find gravitons and stuff like that, it started poking holes, right, in reality, and the alternate realities are sort of filling those gaps, or vice versa. It can't really. It kind of reminds me of electronics, what they call P and P hole theory, where if one electron hits, it creates a hole because it goes away, and then when that hole is filled in by another electron, kind of keeps going. So if all these realities are bumping together, caused by CERN and gravitons, then maybe that's where we're getting these little blips that we don't know to be correct. But this thing goes so deep, I can't even explain it. It's like, what the hell, man?
So basically, since the start of CERN, that's when all of this became more common?
That's what they're saying, yeah.
But then there's other instances throughout history where we've noticed people aren't familiar or aren't comfortable with the way reality presented to them.
Well, yeah, and see, but that's just it, though. The impact that the gravitons would have, or the particle physics experiments have, wouldn't just be one directional, like towards the future. It could be in the past as well.
Okay.
Like an explosion is not one directional, right? An explosion is like, 300 omnidirectional.
Yeah.
So, but they don't really know for sure, and all this is just speculation. And like people are even saying that our universe is actually in the wrong spot.
I've heard that, but
like it's hundreds of miles off, and even our land masses here on the planet are off.
Like not just relating to the Mandela effect, but just in general, our universe is off, or it got pushed, a couple hundred miles or something like that, and that's caused other unexplained
shifts.
phenomenon. Yeah. So, but if that cause or that migration or whatever move the Earth is causing all these things, is there a way to stop it? Have these things increased because of it, or are we trying to fix things, and that's why we're seeing that?
So the whole process is basically when you see a Mandela or it happens.
Yeah.
Right. and then the new reality is a reality. The process is called effort after meaning, right?
Oh, okay.
So, or at least that's the way Frederick Bartlett described the outcome. But anyway, because this is going to be a relatively short podcast, we're going to kind of get to what should you do? Should you worry, right?
Yeah.
So why worry? So if we're trapped in a parallel dimension now, what would happen if our Earth came in close contact with its doppelganger in that universe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, would it cause a phase out?
Or is that what's actually causing this to begin with? Where these
Yeah.
two parallel universes sort of intercede and touch each other, and it creates a change. Whether it happens in that universe or our universe, is that what's actually causing the change? Because this sort of butts up against, if we have parallel universes or parallel dimensions, and that includes time and space, if two of these parallel dimensions or two of these parallel universes touch each other, is that what's actually causing where we see stuff like Bigfoot? He's there and then he's not.
Or like
or
the
a Thunderbird.
Thunderbird. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
There
what
they
I
are
thought
and then they're not. Or like a petrosaur. There it is, flying like a pterodactyl flying around. It's there and then it's not. And it's like, it should be there. You should still be able to see it. You should still be able to, not enough
Interact
time.
with it?
Yeah, like you've
Yeah.
seen it and then you blink and then it's gone. It's like, how is that? It's not even physically possible, right, for that thing to get away that quick.
Yeah.
That explains why nobody can find Bigfoot.
Yeah.
See?
Or there's no proof.
Yeah.
Well, they
You know?
keep saying that Bigfoot, there's a whole community that believes Bigfoot is interdimensional. What if he's one of these Mandela effect blips or something outside of Mandela, just like a symptom of it?
What if all this is like that? So all the weird stuff that,
Don't.
like unicorns. Like there's even a thing saying that, unicorns was mentioned like once or maybe twice in the Bible. Now it's mentioned 11 times.
Really?
Yeah, and now they're saying that unicorns existed. Certain types or certain, maybe not the unicorn that we know, the white horse with a singular horn, but so what if all this stuff is actually real and is caused by parallel universes or parallel dimensions butting up against each other? When you have that it's kind of like two bubbles floating, right? Two bubbles floating in the air, they sort of touch each other. A little bit of material gets transferred between one bubble and the other, and they sort of branch apart, and the bubble's different.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
Or, you brought up the whole comic book universe thing, both of you. What if it's something like that, like comic book mashup? Suddenly, for a brief moment, something from that other universe joins us, like Bigfoot,
Yeah.
and causes some sort of reaction here, like the UFO craze of the, Roswell, and then again in the
50s and
90s.
stuff, yeah.
Every time those bubbles touch, something from that universe causes a craze or a panic here.
And it creates a shift in awareness, and all of a sudden, there you go. Now things that were unpopular or you're crazy for believing that become agreed upon.
Yeah.
Or not so crazy. And all that sort of thing between what you know and then what gets affected to the new reality is the veil.
See, I actually wrote that one.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did want to say, this phase out or intentional shifting of our perceptions, possibly linked to maybe a giant test of some sort. Do these residuals that people experience have some, people who experience these residuals in frequency, do they have some sort of immunity to the Mandela effect?
Well, they don't know.
Okay. And then stepping into the whole theory of our world ending in 2012, and we are all dead somehow, or just not existing in that previous universe. For the people that experience the residue, or I cannot say it today. Residuals. For those people who constantly experience those residuals, is the veil thinner for them, the veil of death, or the veil of perception?
I don't know.
Yeah. Does that mean that they can transfer back and forth between these different dimensions and these different realities?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. Yeah. You start thinking about this stuff, and I mean, it's like, who knows, right?
Yeah.
And with the rational concerns, right? If you have too many residuals that you've experienced, does it mean you suffer from mental illness or weakness? Or does it mean you have a really bad memory and you just need to go to the doctor or take some vitamins? Really, nobody seems to know.
Yeah.
Because if you talk about this to what I call the great unwashed, people that don't even remotely care about any of the stuff that we actually ever talk about on the podcast, they would think you're freaking crazy.
And see, that bothers me the most.
So, and with that being said, it's always that there's way more people that are aware of something than they let on. So if you're experiencing it and 1,000 people are experiencing it, there's probably 5,000 people that aren't talking about it because they don't want to be viewed that way.
And see
the silent sort of,
that kind of bothers me though, because what if, Chicken Little, the sky is falling, I'm aware of this, is that person who does that and breaks mold, breaks tradition, and says, look, this is happening. Are they going to get locked up in a loony bin, or worse, are they going to get locked up in a government prison?
Yeah, who knows?
Are they going to be ostracized in the media?
So let's talk about some of the things that, these are some people that we think are possibly unaffected by the Mandela effect. This is kind of sketchy. And then what we'll do is we'll wrap the podcast up with some examples of the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
So there are theories that some people are not affected by or have some sort of keen awareness of what's going on. Kind of like what you were saying, if you got people that are unaware of it or unaffected by it.
Or maybe the veil of dimensions is thinner for them.
Yeah.
So.
And there's some theorists who believe that people like Donald Trump and his uncle was named John George Trump, right?
Yeah.
He was involved in CERN, so they're saying it's a possibility of Donald Trump.
And even if it's not Trump, that maybe his uncle influenced him somehow or has given him this information.
And you put in here Jim Carrey is aware that we're living in a construct full of errors. And that's probably possible. I mean, sure, because he's a little weird, but...
So the Donald Trump one, the reason I put that one in there was because there is video evidence out there of Donald Trump bringing up Pizzagate before anybody knew about it.
Yeah, like 5 years before it happened.
Yeah, that's creepy. And then Jim Carrey, regularly, when you see him in media, now we don't know if it's an act or what, but they've caught him off camera acting weird as well, just bringing up things such as, oh, I've met you before, or you're a lot pleasant compared to the last time you talked to me.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, and, oh, I don't care about this because we're all tetrahedrons or something.
Yeah. And so if Jim Carrey is aware that we're living in a construct full of errors and there's time travelers, which I like the way you put the time travelers are. Like, for example, Matthew McConaughey, who is blatantly asked if he was a time traveler, and Pharrell Williams, along with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
What if they accidentally discovered the paradigm shift and now they're trapped with us because the errors are of such an effect that they can't get back to where they came from? Because
Matthew McConaughey and Pharrell have both been asked twice, and Pharrell was asked on like an R&B interview of some sort. He got mad and walked off.
Yeah.
So, but not that he walked off. He just didn't want to answer the question. Yeah, he was done. Yeah. So, but we have all these people. If there was a time shift or if something changed in our dimension, naturally that would assume a time traveler would get trapped. So because if it changes too much, then they don't have the reality to go back to. Yeah. Right? If you keep changing the past, then the future that you knew doesn't exist. It's been shifted or been modified or manipulated to the point where it's not the same, so the conditions that you left on aren't the same that you could return to. Yeah. Thanks, Star Trek. Hey. Yeah. No, but I mean, it is, right? It's something that they talk about in Star Trek, right? The time-space continuum and all that sort of thing. So it's a little nutty. So what do you think? If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you should definitely let us know. Yeah. But here's some examples of the Mandela effect. Okay. Right? Everybody knows about the Berenstain Bears versus the Berenstain Bears. Yeah. Right? And we talked about Jif versus Jiffy. Peanut butter. There's another one that says the dot or the dash in between Kit and Kat on a candy bar is missing. Now it's just Kit Kat. Yeah. I remember the dash being there. Right? Mandela, of course, dying, because we know that one. That's the reason why it's named Mandela Effect. This one got me. Have you ever got anything from Schwann's, the food delivery company? Remember, like, ice creams and chicken nuggets and all that stuff? Yeah. How do you spell it, Will? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember.
It was like SCH. Remember Schwann's, that company had the trucks, the weird looking trucks?
Oh, yeah.
SCHWANNS.
I thought I had one N.
You see, there you go. Which one is it? I remember having two N's. Now it has one N. Yeah. I might be wrong. Who knows, right? Chick-fil-A versus Chick-fil-A. I remember Chick-fil-A being CHIK. Yeah. For chick. Now it's CHICK for Chick-fil-A. Oh, God. Isn't that weird? Yeah, because I remember the K, but it's funny because I think I talked to, it was either one of my stepsisters or one of your daughters who insisted it was just a C. Yeah. Like getting angry about it. Yeah, CIC, yeah, that's what it was. CHIC. Yeah. Like chick with no K, dash filet, versus CICK, dash fillet. I remember not having the K. So, and everybody knows about Shazam. It had Sinbad in it, right?
Yeah.
And I seen a video where a guy supposedly, I don't know if he doctored the tape or whatever, but he found that movie on VHS tape and he played it on his YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I watched that movie and I remember going, this is a turd.
Yeah.
So, the man being run over by the tanks in Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
I remember that guy getting run over, man.
I don't remember getting run over, but I heard some other videos that I watched on that he did not end up getting run over.
Yeah, they like climbed over the tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is,
I remember because
I didn't see the video evidence, so.
I could have sworn that my history teacher let us watch the video because she was like, I'm going to get in trouble for this. And we got to see it. He got, oh, it was gross too, because
Really?
that was the first time, being in school, we were allowed to see something graphic.
maybe it was another Chinese protester that got mowed over by a Chinese tank. I'm sure it's been more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And then like in different movie clips, like Luke, I am your father. That's what we remember it to be, but it's really not.
Yeah.
Where he just says, I am your father.
Then the.
No, I am your father.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Mirror, Mirror on the Wall from, I guess, Cinderella.
Yeah.
Is it? No, it's from Snow White.
Or Snow White.
Snow
Yeah,
White.
sorry, Snow White.
Yeah, where I remember her going, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And they're saying, no, she says magic mirror on the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
I
That
don't
doesn't
remember
make-
the magic at all.
I don't either. So I was like, I don't think so.
But we're also dudes, so
That's true.
We didn't watch that movie a lot.
It was kind of scary. If I remember correctly, not to bust you a little bit, that witch used to scare you a
Yeah,
little bit.
man. Well, she was ahead.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
When you hear people talk about the old hag syndrome and they describe the old hag, a lot of times it looks like that creepy witch from Snow White, the one that
Yeah.
hands her the apple.
Yeah.
Big old wart.
Gross.
The one that got me the most, because this was the kids movie, girls type movie I watched growing up, Alice in Wonderland. And We're All Mad Here by the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, most everyone's mad here. I also remember the Cheshire.
Yeah, I don't remember that being
Yeah.
that way.
I also remember the Cheshire Cat's name being spelled differently.
Yeah.
So that's mine.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, which is messed up because everybody's got tattoos that say the wrong thing, or like Hot Topic T-shirts that say the wrong thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yep.
So we're going to take a second to get ready to wrap up the podcast. We do appreciate you tuning in with us. This is a relatively short podcast for us. Something for 2019 is we're going to stop doing these 2.5, 3 hour long podcasts. We don't really have any that long, but we've been told by nobody that they're too long. So it needs to be more manageable. I think an hour is pretty decent. So.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Yeah, an hour is pretty tasty. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up now. If you'd like to talk more about the Mandela effect with us, you can certainly do that. If you have any experiences of the Mandela effect yourself, you should definitely call us on our phone number. You can leave a message, and that phone number is 575-208-4025.
Yep. And you can also email us if you're not comfortable calling in. You can always email us. That's going to be contact@creepgeeks.com. You can also reach out to us on Facebook. Just find CreepGeeks Podcast on Facebook and send us a message. We'll be happy to take a look at your story and, hey, maybe even read it on the air.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
So hopefully we can put the year that was 2018 to rest and start off with a fresh new 2019.
Yeah.
We have a lot of stuff going on. Since we're going to be what you would call a full-time content creating team, expect more from us. So, we have lots of interviews scheduled, lots of ideas to talk about. We're working on something we think to be pretty interesting. Hopefully the gentleman who found a chupacabra in Arizona, in which we talked about one of our previous podcasts, I believe it was episode number 31.
Yeah.
He actually reached out to us, and maybe we can get him to share some new pictures he's got, some new evidence to kind of dissuade us from thinking that it was just a cat.
Which is what I thought it was.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. So if that person is listening, we have received your information and your request, and we will get a hold of you shortly.
Yes.
But if it didn't happen, then like the Mandela effect, you'll never know.
Hey.
So, but anyway, that's going to be about it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yes, sir.
We had our first guest, so we're already bringing in the new year just right.
Oh, very nice.
See?
All right. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and go. So we do appreciate everybody listening and tuning in to the podcast. And hey, thanks. And let's make 2019 great.